We're ending off the Americas leg with a race in Vegas. Not around for long, but quite iconic already. The GP itself was introduced in 2023, and when we first saw it, we thought it was going to be quite a joke. But it's provided us with two pretty decent races. The conditions are crazy, and we've already had quite a few moments, some of them pretty ridiculous and others pretty cool. The ridiculous one being Sainz running over a drain that went through the bottom of his car. Thankfully, he was safe and okay, but that could have been a very big major incident. Considering we're racing on the streets of Vegas, a lot can happen. It's a pure street track. And thankfully, we did not see that happen in 2024, but that 2023 race was actually very, very good and gave us quite the first impression. We had Charles and Checo and Max all fighting. It was great to see. A lot of nice overtakes and genuinely good racing the track provided. And then in 24, I think it provided in the midfield, but it was a pretty dominant performance by the Mercedes team, and Max secured his 4th championship. The track conditions in both years were pretty cold, but going into this weekend, it's going to be very chilly, just like it was in 2023. So that makes this track even more unpredictable. There's even a chance of rain. I highly doubt it, as we are in Vegas, Nevada. It doesn't rain there often. I don't think we're going to see it, but there is a chance, just to add it in. With the conditions being so weird here, teams that can fire up their tires much quicker, like Aston Martin for example, could have a bit of an advantage, Mercedes in particular. But then teams also, like Alpine, might have a chance to score some points. It was pretty impressive what they did in Brazil, even after I made fun of them for being the worst cars. Somehow Brazil just makes every car pretty even. But with that, we can go into our preview for Las Vegas. We're running the same tires as last year. I think that's a good choice. And last year, even with the weird conditions, it was still a 2-stop, with Russell, like I said, leading most of the race. And even fighting off Leclerc at some point, the Mercedes car looked completely dominant. Now, even with this track being mostly straight lines, that first sector in particular tends to shred the tires, and so does the second. Where there's all those slow speed corners and traction is very valuable in this piece of track. So new tires give a lot of lap time for people going for undercuts. So that could prove to be very interesting here. The asphalt grip is a 1 with it being a street track. Cars are on this daily, and a lot of dust builds up. I mean, when we see them in FP1 this weekend, you're going to see how much dust flies up from under the cars because of how little track running it has throughout really the year. Downforce is going to be a 1. It's pretty much Monza style, so expect super skinny rear wings and drivers that strive under low grip conditions like we've seen with Lando Norris. In track evolution, obviously a 5. The later you go, the better. With all the dust buildup, it's going to be very valuable. Qualifying will be extremely interesting on Saturday. So as I stated, for the headlines going into here, it's going to be the weather. They're saying about 9 to 12 degrees Celsius, and it's very dry air at that added. So very weird conditions in comparison to most of the season. Now, if Lando ends up winning the race, which I think is unlikely considering the car is pretty draggy, but you never know with this McLaren car, it is the fastest. If Verstappen finishes 3rd or worse, mathematically, he will no longer be able to become a champion this year. And for Oscar Piastri, it's very important that he gets ahead of Lando. The chances of him winning the championship are slim, but even more so if he does not beat Lando here. And it's not been quite the great track for Oscar. It'll be very interesting to see what he can do. He still believes there's a lot of hope there. He's talked about Monza being kind of a defining race for him. I think it's quite an interesting quote to make now that you're behind, but let's see. I would love for this to go down to Abu Dhabi. Do I think it's going to happen? Nah, Lando's in too good a form right now. But with that said, I want you guys to go make your predictions. It's the last GP in the Americas. And then we have Qatar and Abu Dhabi as the last 2 races as the Asian leg for the Unchained Race Week. Go make your predictions, compete against me, and now I will make my predictions with you right now on Unchained Media Inc. All right, per usual, going off the dome, that really screwed me last time because I didn't even really think about Mercedes. It just didn't even cross my mind. For this GP, I'm definitely thinking about it. I didn't think Brazil was going to be that strong, but man, was I wrong about Ferrari? Maybe. If Charles actually had a race, he could have done good. Now, Kimi is in excellent form. For next-gen driver, I think it's pretty obvious because the Mercedes, in my opinion, will be strong, and with that, I think Kimi can go up high. Ali, arguably, has been better since the summer break than Kimi Antonelli. They've all had their moments, but Ali Behrman's been the best. He's been the rookie of the year for me so far. I made a whole video talking about all these rookies driving styles and how impressive they've just been. Now, to go over the top 5, this is also going to be very difficult in my opinion. I have a feeling the McLaren car will not perform to expectations. They were bad in 24. They were bad in 23. I expect in 25 they will be a little bit better, but I could see all 3 top teams topping them. I still think in the top 5 we're going to see Lando. He will finish within the top 5, but will he be able to fight for a win? Unless there's some drama going on, I don't think he has the car. It's going to be low grip conditions, which I mentioned is really good for Lando. He likes those low grip conditions considering his driving style, but anything can happen here in Vegas. He crashed in 23 just due to a bump. It's a very tricky track. Now P4, I'm blanking completely. I want to throw up a Ferrari driver. Man, I threw up last time Lewis, and that just didn't seem to be the call. He's just not been able to execute in the race, unfortunately. And I can't see him beating Charles at all for the rest of the season, considering how bad Brazil was. So I am going to throw up Charles in P3. I think it's going to be an ambitious position, or P4. P4 for Charles. It's going to be an ambitious position for him to get, even with that Ferrari car. But I think it's going to be a pretty even playing field with all top 4 of the teams. Leclerc has been really good here, and I can see him doing really good here again. With that said, I think Max will be ahead of him, and I think Kimi is going to finish in P3. He's going to be back on the podium twice in a row. That would be phenomenal for him and would do a lot for his confidence. I can't see a victory. I think this is one of the only GPs he could possibly win with in his first season. But I do think him beating George Russell in a full weekend was a one-off. We do get those George Russell weekends where he's a bit off, but we don't see that more than maybe once, maybe twice in a season. I don't think we're going to see it twice in a row, though. With that said, we're going to get Max in P2. This is a very fast car in a straight line. I believe he can get up there in the front row positions. I'm not sure if he can beat the British guy, George Russell. It's going to be very competitive, and these two next to each other, to me, is my favorite combination on the grid. Maybe throw up Leclerc. If we could see those 3, it'd be the race of the year. I hope we can see some action really amongst the whole top 5. That would be very fun. Vegas could provide that. And I did throw in quite the curveball. I think McLaren will be weaker here. Now, for performance, pole position, I could see Max getting on pole and not winning the race. I just have a feeling the car will not have the tires, maybe, but I think Max is the quickest qualifier right now with the car that he's given. With that said, I think Charles can also get up high. We'll have to see. That Ferrari car is very difficult in qualifying, and you never really know where it's at. For biggest loser, I finally got it wrong last time. This time, I'm going to make a prediction that's probably going to be either between the Sauber drivers or the Aston Martin drivers. With that said, I think Gabriel is going to qualify a little bit higher and fall back in the race, but I hope that I'm wrong. He had quite the bad weekend in Brazil. Last time I put him up there as a very high position for Gabriel and next-gen driver. Hopefully, it's the opposite curse, because I like Gabriel and I want him to do good. Now, for biggest gainer, I'm going with the all-reliable Lance Stroll, qualifying in P20, somehow finishing the points due to luck and, in general, being pretty quick in the race. It's his biggest strong suit, overtaking, and somehow getting up in positions that we didn't expect him to be in. And for fastest lap, this is such a toss-up in this season because anybody can put out some soft tires at the end, go for fastest lap. It's always a mix. With that said, I'm going to put up Oscar Piastri. Something tells me he's going to have the fastest lap of the race. And now looking at constructors, based off of my top 5, I'm going to put up McLaren in P3. With that said, I think Red Bull is going to be the second team just due to Max. I have a hard time believing Yuki's going to score points here. Maybe he can. He's going to be under a lot of pressure, but I think that time is gone. For him to retain that seat, it would require him getting a podium or something, and that's just not going to happen. It's not very realistic. I realized I didn't do the fastest pit stop. I will do that last. And first constructors, not obviously this time, is going to be Mercedes. And for fastest pit stop, maybe I listened to Elkin, who's saying that the pit stop people are winning the championship for Ferrari. So let's put up Ferrari. Let's test that theory out from Ferrari's chairman, Elkin. Would love to see if it finally becomes true, because I can never get this correct. I got it correct last race due to Yuki getting a fast pit stop, but it's very rare that I get fastest pit stop. It's usually big gainer and big loser. That's my strong suit, at least in these predictions. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you drop your predictions. Thank you all for stopping by. Please leave a like, subscribe. It'd mean the world. and peace.